Have you ever wondered if everyone else's reality was just as good as the fantasy world you lived in? Has it ever bothered you that the better part of yourself can only be understood on a page, with the smell of fresh ink and old paper somewhere in the background? With 2 poems published by American Library of Poetry, I have spent the last year working towards the goal of actually publishing a novel or a novella. My name is Shauna Jones, and I have a great story to read for you guys today. The piece I am reading for you revolves around the life of a kitsune girl named Morona that loves to protect her village of Kokunadate in Meiji/Edo era Japan. It starts just after Morona's mother figure was found to be murdered violently, and Morona takes her little brother figure, Ichiro, home to recover from the shock while she goes to find out what's happening. The fire that had nearly gone out flared up again as I fed small sticks to the dying embers. I shushed Ichiro as I glided towards the door. "Shush, little one. No harm will come to you here. Sleep, and you will feel better. I will return as soon as the situation is dealt with. You are free to stay until we speak again." I glanced back at Ichiro to find him already asleep by the fire, a piece of bread still held tightly in his hand. I had to stop for a moment, a smile on my face, as he looked still like the brother I had lost so long ago. Without looking back again, I quickly ran towards the terrible scene again. The townspeople had surely discovered it by now, and the relatives of the woman would already be mourning her loss. But I could help console the people that the message would be dealt with, and most likely the killer would be found in the next few days. Nothing like this had ever happened since I arrived in this village, and I would have to keep a more vigilant eye in the future to keep it from happening again. As I drew closer, I could tell that something was different. The words that had been so clear before were now gone. Many of the townspeople were gathered around the woman, still trying to identify just who she had been. It was as the family arrived that it dawned on me. No one but Ichiro and I had seen the true extent of this crime. Those words were meant for one of us, though which was unclear. Who would do such a thing to intimidate a child? Or if not him, who would hold so much hatred of me as to murder someone dear to me? This woman that I had watched grow from a small child into a stunning young woman, into the wise old woman who would sit with me for a cup of tea, offering advice that she believed one day would free me from my self-imposed duty as their protector. A rough hand with a gentle grip resting on my shoulder startled me from my thoughts. I rolled around to find Yoshihiro, a sad look on his face. He knew that a loss like this hurt, as he had spent the last few years helping me defend this town. He, too, probably had grown close to some of these people. "Are you all right, Morona? I know that Aoi would sit down to drink tea with you quite often. Her loss must be hard on you." His concern always made me feel like I've found a part of myself again. The part that went missing over 200 years ago. It warmed my insides with the same feelings that I had felt towards my Kazoku, only a little warmer with an emotion I can never identify. Just as I moved to answer Yoshihiro, a man I recognized to be Aoi's eldest son, Kaida, pushed him, glaring at me. His eyes were thick with grief at his mother's loss and filled with burning anger, fueled by that grief. "Where were you, Morona? Are you not here to protect us? Where were you when my mother was slain?" He reached up to hit me when Yoshihiro grabbed his hand to stop him. His words were a blow enough, and distantly I felt my eyes fill with tears. Even though I knew it was just his grief speaking, he was right. I had sworn to protect these people, and I couldn't even save one of them. I hadn't been there for Aoi when she needed me the most, and she had paid for my mistake with her life. "That's enough, Kaida. It's not nearly enough!" Kaida jerked his hand back from Yoshihiro's hold, but didn't raise his hand to strike me again. If she had been doing her job and actually protecting the village instead of chasing after that brat, my mother would still be here. It's her fault that she's gone. Can't you see that? Or are you too blinded by her charms to see past her charade? She's brought nothing but trouble to my family now. If I had been in my right mind, I would have seen Yoshihiro's eyes fill with anger, but instead I was lost in my own grief. Kaida would not forgive me for this betrayal of his trust, and would soon bring the whole village against me. I would not lose just Aoi at this rate, but every person I had come to know throughout my stay here. Before I could hear the rest of this argument, or the rest of villagers coming to my defense, my feet carried me out of the alleyway and away from the village towards the surrounding forest. I was not sure where I was going, but I knew that I had to get there. I did not stop until my feet fell out from under me, and I sat with my knees below me, the world blurry with my tears. Somewhere nearby, I heard the sound of footsteps, but they did not matter. All that mattered in that moment was the sheer amount of overwhelming sadness consuming me. Morona! Morona, please! He didn't mean it, Morona! Yoshihiro's voice was a beacon in the darkness. No matter what happened, Yoshihiro was the one thing I could always count on. Upon hearing him, I raised my head from my hands to see him cautiously standing before me. He was clearly out of breath from chasing me, but that did not stop him from continuing forward slowly, hands out as if trying not to spook me. Easy, Morona. It's all right. Everything will be all right. The villagers will make sure that Kaida sees the wrong he has committed against you. He took a small step forward, only a few steps away from me. I will not be forgiven, Yoshihiro. My promise has been broken to these people. I have let one of their own die and did nothing to stop it. You did not know this was going to happen, Morona. You cannot know everything, nor can you protect everyone on your own. Was that not why I stayed with you here, protecting them with both my sword and my life? He took 2 more steps towards me, now only a single step away. But Yoshi! My ears twitched as Yoshihiro placed a hand softly on my head, brushing a strand of white hair out of my face. It was not your fault. No one blames you for Aoi's death, least of all myself. Forgive Kaida his anger, and return to those who need you, because, Morona, we all need you. They need you to protect them, and I need you to be there waiting for me just as you have always done. He removed his hand, instead offering it, and a small smile, to me. I stared at them for a moment before speaking, voice finally calm, hiding the fear that even when I returned I would be greeted with the hate I expected instead of the love that Yoshihiro promised. Because Yoshihiro was right. I had people to protect, and if those people cared as much as he said they do, our presence would soon be missed. I fear that the others will become worried if we do not return soon. Perhaps it is in their better interest that we do. I took Yoshihiro's extended hand as he helped me to my feet and looked around the small clearing. We were not far from the village, but I ran so quickly in my grief that I had not noticed the amount of distance I covered in the span of only a few moments. I would not hear the end of this from Yoshihiro, but to return to the others now would be worth every moment spent away. Thank you, old friend, for following me. I would not like to imagine where I would be had you not been here. Yoshihiro's smile grew wide as he drew me into a hug. I would rather fight 1,000 armies than see you like that again. Come, let us go. He released me as we began to walk away side by side. I could still feel the sensation of his hug as I took in his ragged appearance once more. It was clear that our last battle had left him in a rather bad way, the fraying edges of his clothing stained with blood, both his own and those of our enemies. But anyone that looked further than his small stature could tell that he was a true warrior born from an age of war.